You know that moment when your garden starts turning against you? Well, I tilled in some marigolds and then I ended up with marigold sprouts literally everywhere. Then I drowned my pepper and my eggplants. And as for the strawberries, let's just say crown rot won this round. Here's what I'm learning about this mess. These are all marigold sprouts. At first it was completely out of control. I mean, half of my raised bed had those little sprouts everywhere. I have since kind of pulled them up as much as I could, or even just kind of tilled them in again to disturb their roots, because I do not need that many marigold plants. The reason it happened is because I tilled in my marigold plants before the spring planting season, because marigold plants have a chemical compound that actually deters root knot nematodes. But here's where I got it wrong. I had taken a marigold plant like this one, which was mostly dead, and put it on top of the soil and then covered that in compost and other soil amendments. Maybe you're figuring out the problem already, but I shouldn't essentially have planted these dead flowers. This just contains 1 million marigold seeds. Oh my goodness, look at that. That's only one flower, and I did this over the entire raised bed. So look at all of those seeds. And then I covered them up with compost, and I covered them up with some other soil amendments. And for some reason, I was surprised when I got 1 million marigold sprouts. But what I should have done is cut off the flowers and maybe cut the plant up into smaller pieces and spread it out over the raised bed, and then covered it up with compost. The primary source on the plant for the chemical compound that deters the root knot nematodes is actually the roots. So there was really no need to bury the flowers at all. And I'm letting you know now so that you don't make the same mistake that I did. Surely you can see how pulling out all of these little sprouts and trying to get all of them is just as bad as weeding. Let me take a moment to introduce myself. My name's Jen and I'm here in Melbourne, Florida. On this channel, I'm documenting my journey to learn how to garden in my suburban backyard, and I'm hoping I can inspire others to grow some vegetables in their own backyard too. If this is content that you're interested in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll be bringing you new videos every week. Now let's talk about my failure with my peppers and my eggplants. This one's a little bit hard. I can't say that I've definitively figured out exactly what I did wrong, but I think the primary reason they failed is because of overwatering. Now, my raised garden bed soil was recently amended with compost, trace minerals from azomite, some neem seed meal, some crab meal. And I think that maybe the compost was not completely finished and is holding on to water more than finished compost does. So combine that with really heavy rains recently, and I think I've got some anaerobic soil going on, and the soil is kind of getting compacted in some areas. I may have to actually mix in something to lighten it up. Here's my poor dead eggplant. Now, if I try to pull it up or even try to get some of the soil in my hands and take a look at it, first of all, that was pretty hard to poke through. I think it's a little bit compacted. Now we can pull it up and we still see roots. If you have plants like this in anaerobic soil, the roots will actually die. And once the roots die, there's really no hope for the plant surviving. Let's take a look over here where my pepper plants died. Now this one is a little bit hard for me to figure out what went wrong, because I've got a Carolina Wonder bell pepper right here that definitely died. And then I've got a Carolina Wonder bell pepper right here that did not die. This one is still alive, and you can see some yellowing leaves, some brown spots where the cells on the leaves have actually died. I think that this one is going to survive. It did look a lot more wet and wilty until I recently adjusted my watering schedule and dropped the watering way down. One of the things that's making this really hard to diagnose is because I have some direct sowed watermelon seeds and some mustard greens and lots of herbs and radishes right here, and none of them are showing signs of dying either. These are pepper plants that really looked fantastic when I transplanted them in. They were actually some of my best transplants I've ever grown. And they were definitely hardened off. I had them outside in the seed starting cell for about a week before I even put them in the raised bed. So I believe it's a watering issue, but if you guys have experienced something similar with peppers and eggplants, and maybe I'm missing something, please drop a comment below. I'm trying to learn from this experience and do a little bit better the next go around. As for how I'm gonna fix this problem right now, I'm probably just gonna go and buy some pepper starts, because I still want those pepper plants and I still want that eggplant. So I'm gonna make a trip to my local nursery in the next couple of days and go pick up some starts and get this garden back under control. Now let's talk about my strawberry plants. The number of strawberry plants that have died on me this year is pretty staggering, and I've got a few thoughts about why they're dying and what I might do differently next time. So this is a Florida Brilliance strawberry. So a Florida Brilliance strawberry was bred for its red glossy finish and its really firm texture and its high early yields, which makes it a very marketable and profitable strawberry for the commercial growers in Florida. As for the home gardener, I'm not sure I'm going to grow this variety again, and there's two main reasons I say that. The first one is this variety is extremely susceptible to crown rot. And I think that the environment that I chose to put it in is kind of exaggerating that as well. I set up my garden tower in the fall and then filled it with soil and then immediately planted my bare root strawberry starts. And I think what was happening was some of the soil was settling in the garden tower and actually covering the crown of the strawberry plants. And as soon as that soil is touching the wrong part of the strawberry crown, it's really going to magnify its susceptibility to crown rot. To confirm that, I actually took one of my strawberry plants, dug it up, and sent it off to the UF-IFAS plant diagnostics lab and had them run some tests to confirm that it was crown rot. Sure enough, there was crown rot present, and so I can safely say that it's probably the reason why a lot of my strawberry plants were dying. Now, I started with like 40 starts. There's 52 pockets in this garden tower, and you can see how many I've added. I've just planted lettuce in instead. I've also planted some bulbing onions in it because I just had so many empty pockets because of my strawberry failures. The other reason I say that I may not choose this variety again is because I guess I didn't do quite enough research about this variety and didn't realize that Florida Brilliance strawberries really rarely create runners. I mean, out of all of these plants, I've only had one runner this entire season. But it was kind of my initial plan was to only buy 40 starts, which I knew was less than the number of pockets I had in the tower. And I was hoping that I would fill out the tower with all the runners that it creates, but I couldn't even execute that plan because the plants wouldn't even create any runners. If this is something you guys have experienced with your Florida Brilliance strawberries, please drop a comment below. I want to be sure I'm not the only one experiencing basically no runner production from a Florida Brilliance strawberry plant. What I do find interesting about it is that it just kind of highlights to me how commercial growers probably don't even care about runner production. They're trying to plant their bare root starts, get the strawberry production, and then move on to different plants that will continue to produce for them. And it's probably easier for them to just source more bare root starts versus going and clipping off the runners and replanting the runners that are created from their own plants. As for the home gardener though, I think maybe the reverse is true. We don't want to keep buying our bare root starts if we don't have to. What we want to do is propagate our plants with the runners. So I'm really not getting anywhere near the production of strawberries that I wanted, in part because I don't have enough strawberry plants. This is something that I'm going to reflect on and possibly make a different choice about variety next year, although I haven't figured out yet which variety I'm going to go with. Let me know in the comments below if you guys can relate to any of these failures that I'm experiencing this season. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.